and welcome to our video about wrestlers having no idea what was coming next. And speaking of which, today we are officially sponsored by Fishing Clash. No, really, but more on that later in the video.
From debuts legitimately shrouded in mystery, to violent finishes blurring the lines a little bit too much for some, these particular wrestling workers had no clue what was heading their way. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestlers who had no idea what was coming next. Number 10, Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, an unforeseen mystery partner. We could have probably filled this list with the unplanned emergence of overzealous crowd members threatening to derail a night's previously planned series of events. But for the sake of trying to add some variety into your lives, we'll just stick to the hilarious arrival of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose's surprise mystery partner back at Night of Champions in 2015. Now, I'm by no means condoning the action of jumping the rail and getting up close and personal with your favorite wrestler. It shouldn't take a genius to figure out just how dumb an idea that really is. But the sight of a vest and MMA glove boasting civilian suddenly lining up alongside the two former Shield members was something else. One of the duo's opponents, Bray Wyatt, couldn't even resist a dig at the absurdity of this unexpected intervention, retorting, "Is that your guy?" as the rogue fan was tackled out of the ring. Reigns and Ambrose would ultimately be joined by Chris Jericho before the match eventually got underway. But for a moment, the two shared a genuinely baffled look as their night took a rather unanticipated turn. Number 9, Buddy Murphy, a specific Roman Reigns angle. He may have been WWE's best kept secret for the longest time, but Buddy Murphy himself was once kept in the dark when it came time to shoot a rather pivotal moment on SmackDown. During this time in June 2019, Murphy had been tasked with cutting promos in front of the live crowd as the show went to commercial. However, on one particular occasion, Murphy was having none of the script he was handed and decided to take it away to be fine-tuned backstage. At this moment, none other than the Blue Show's resident big dog, Roman Reigns, came storming by. But Murphy thought nothing of it and continued refining. As it goes, Murphy had been captured on camera in this moment, leading many to believe that he was the person responsible for attacking Reigns backstage later down the road. Murphy would then find himself involved in the angle on SmackDown, but the star has gone on record to admit that it was a big mistake and not supposed to happen. Thankfully it did though, and the two would go to war in an outstanding match on the Blue Show not long after. Number 8, Jim Ross, Malakai Black shocks the world. Every now and again a moment comes along that seems to catch not just the fans in attendance off guard, but the majority of the wrestling promotion involved too. That was exactly the case when it came time for the former Aleister Black to make his shocking presence known on AEW Dynamite recently. Evidence of the genuine surprise factor Malakai Black brought to the Land of All Elite could be found on the announce desk, as Jim Ross struggled to comprehend what exactly he was looking at during the Road Rager Rampage. As Ross would later reveal, the iconic voice and one-time Triple H pinner was not even aware Black was in the building before he saw the lights come up in that debuting moment. This lines up with Black's comments that only 5 or 6 people were in the know beforehand, a decision that was made to ensure the company were able to pull off that rare beast of a genuinely stunning in-ring reveal. Well played, all involved.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, today's video is brought to you in partnership with Fishing Clash. Oh my god, I hear you say, I bloody love fishing games. Well, Fishing Clash is for you. I've already caught dozens of different fish species, but there are hundreds to get. You just have to look for the opportunity. Any fin is possible, from catfish to salmon to real sea monsters like sharks, although my favourite has to be a load of pollocks. You can collect fishing gear, buy new fishing rods, lures and other equipment to raise your chance of catching a big fish. I've got to tell you, I'm hooked. Now, this isn't just clickbait. With Fishing Clash, you can visit fishing spots from all around the world, from the rivers the Amazon to the Nile to even heading over to Loch Ness. And you can play in duels, challenges, tournaments and even championships to face your ultimate nemesis. Not only that, but they've got incredibly realistic 3D graphics, so whilst you're waiting around to catch your next fish, just sit back and look at the place. Plus, use the code ILOVEWRESTLING to get stuff to help you right at the beginning of the game, like 130 pearls, a gold pack of lures, the Florida Pro license, and an exclusive avatar for a total value of $15. Hey, mull it over. Fishing Clash is free to play and available on both iOS and Android, so why not download it now using the link in the description, and don't forget to use the gift code I Love Wrestling to redeem your gift. Alright, I'll stop carping on now and we can get back to the video.
Number 7. Xavier Woods' KOFIMANIA Running Wild. Not every unexpected moment hits a wrestler in the face against their will. Sometimes a star goes out of their way to bury their head in the sand because of something as simple as not wanting to be disappointed should plans, as they are wont to do, change. Coming into the biggest encounter in the New Day's storied WWE existence, Xavier Woods knew very well that the concept of Kofi Kingston becoming the first ever African-born WWE champion at WrestleMania 35 was one that he couldn't bear to lose should the decision to pull the trigger on his win be changed on the fly. So the up, down man told those in the know to keep him out of it when it came time to reveal who was walking out of MetLife Stadium with the WWE Championship. This makes the sight of Woods and Big E rushing to their pal in the wake of him achieving this heartwarming feat that little bit more special in hindsight, knowing that Woods was very much experiencing this joy in real time and drinking in the incredible result like everyone else in attendance. Number 6. Asuka. What was really in her Money in the Bank briefcase? In the early days of the often eerie pandemic era of professional wrestling, few stars managed to captivate those sitting at home in this unsettling new world quite like the terrific Empress of Tomorrow. This ability to constantly entertain on commentary and inside of the deafeningly silent squared circle deservedly led to the company putting the Money in the Bank briefcase on the star following on from another rather surreal occurrence, that of the Climb the Corporate Ladder Money in the Bank car crash. Yet, as we now all know, Asuka didn't actually win a contract to cash in on a world title shot of her choosing. The charismatic sensation had seized hold of the Raw Women's Championship, with Becky Lynch revealing as much during an emotional farewell to the company as she embarked on her next adventure as the Mom. It was later revealed that Asuka had no clue the belt was in the briefcase on the night of Money in the Bank itself. And despite being made aware of her unexpected title victory the night after, she also hadn't the slightest clue Lynch was with child, meaning her overjoyed response to the man's revelation was a thing of legit beauty. Number 5. Booker T, CM Punk's WWE Backstage return. It may not have been the long-awaited WWE return we'd been hoping for, but CM Punk suddenly strutting out to the sound of Cult of Personality in the closing stages of a November episode of WWE Backstage was enough to light a truly stunned internet on fire for a spell. But it wasn't just a shock to those watching FS1 from the comfort of their own homes as it goes. Frequent WWE Backstage pundit and WWE Hall of Famer Booker T later revealed on his Hall of Fame podcast, "I didn't know CM Punk was in the building. I didn't know anything about this." One look at Book, Samoa Joe, Paige, and Adam Cole's legitimately dumbstruck mugs all but confirmed this to be the case on the day itself. But the former World Heavyweight Champion's additional comments reinforced the fact that this surprise was genuinely the best in the world. Sure, the culture wasn't changed too much from there on out, but the initial shock of his comeback and subsequent time in the hot seat was at least fun while it lasted. Number 4. Mike Tyson, an unpredictable rattlesnake. Takes a brave person to flip off the baddest man on the planet. Luckily, Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't just any bald SOB. That would be me. Mike Tyson wasn't exactly in the dark about the business of pro wrestling in the lead up to working opposite the Texas Rattlesnake in 1998. But that doesn't mean he was 100% certain what was going to go down when he came face to face with the fiery bionic redneck. As Tyson confessed himself to the WWE Network in the Meeting Stone Cold documentary, the former world champion boxer had no clue what Austin was gonna do when the combustible elements met in the middle of the ring for the very first time. As he put it, "I don't know what happened. I had no idea what's gonna happen. This guy's a psychopath. Next thing I know, he's giving me the bird." But when all was said and done, Iron Mike and Cold Stone kissed and made up in time to make some more headlines at WrestleMania 14. Number 3. The rest of the field. The Brock party kicking off. The Money in the Bank ladder match has been known to throw out the odd shocking swerve over the years. Hell, the briefcase itself is responsible for some of the most iconic surprises in WWE history. But when it comes to the actual contest, few stunning sequences hold a candle to the unannounced arrival of Brock Lesnar as the night mystery last entrant and eventual winner of the whole damn thing in 2019. Coming into the bout, reports were doing the rounds that Mustafa Ali had actually been told on the day of the event that he was gonna be walking around with a shot and a world title of his choosing once the dust had settled. Then late in the day, the entire field were informed that a last-minute alteration had been made, and that the new mystery entrant replacing an injured Sami Zayn would be walking out of the match with the case. Lesnar would ultimately shock the world and send an equally astonished Ali flying just as he got within touching distance of the all-important prize. So close, but yet so far. Number 2, Chris Jericho. Brock Lesnar busting Randy Orton open the hard way. Speaking of beasts spoiling parties, SummerSlam 2016 went off the air with one of the most harrowing visuals to grace a WWE program in modern times. That of Brock Lesnar busting Randy Orton open the hard way with his freshly sharpened MMA-style elbows to the noggin. And while this was later confirmed to be the planned finish for the encounter, that didn't stop a clearly distressed Chris Jericho from confronting the Beast incarnate shortly after. Jericho would later admit that the decision to greenlight the finish was none of his business, but the fact that one of his pals was left lying in a pool of his own blood and suffering from a concussion in front of his family in the front row was clearly a step too far for the former world champion. Few people would go out of their way to pick a fight with a former UFC heavyweight champion, but Jericho was left fearing for his old pal's safety in the wake of a closing stretch he wasn't aware was going to be as brutal as it eventually was. So the demo god didn't think twice about getting in the face of the Titan. What a hero. Number 1, Ron Simmons didn't realize a history-making night was on the horizon. Even though just about every wrestler capturing the World Championship for the very first time is expected to react like their dreams have come true seemingly out of nowhere, in the case of Ron Simmons, that was actually genuinely the case. According to the eventual APA man himself during a sit-down with the Jobbing Out podcast, those in attendance on that night in Baltimore were treated to a real moment in professional wrestling. On the back of being drawn out of a raffle and announced as the new #1 contender for the WCW World Championship, Simmons was able to overcome Vader and win the big one. But as Simmons also noted, there was no knowledge of that happening. It wasn't even knowledge for me that that was going to take place that night. And I think that's one of the big reasons for that reaction of the fans. This moment that, in his words, wasn't supposed to take place that night, paved the way for so many to come as Simmons became the first ever Black World Heavyweight Champion. And to think, Simmons had no clue he was about to change the world when he walked into that building in Maryland. And that's our list. Know any other wrestlers who had no idea what was coming next? Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and go and click on that subscribe button. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you very much for clicking on this today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye!
But before we go, a quick thank you to Fishing Clash for sponsoring today's video. Don't be coy, check them out in the link below, and I'll see you soon.